Do you find yourself using projects online or creating projects online with your students and having them turn them in? Or maybe you have Office 365 and you have them share a folder with you, and now you have 130 folders and you're shared with me. Let me show you a cool little way to collect your students' work without having to have 130 folders and you're shared with me. So what I'm going to do is I'm in Google Drive. This works exactly the same in Office 365 Forms. I just personally like Google Drive better because the links are live, and I'll show you what I mean at the end of this tutorial when I'm all done. So here's my Google Drive. All I'm going to do is go to New, More, Google Forms. It's going to create a whole new Google form, and the title is what the students are going to see as a title in their assignment. So I'm going to name this one Moon Phases, because that's the project that we're working on. And also, some teachers like to create a form for each class period. However, I've discovered many teachers just now collect all the data and then create a class period in there so that they can sort the data by class period if they want to. The description is optional. Usually I don't put anything there. The first thing I want to do is get their name. So I'm going to type first name, and Google automatically figures out it's a short answer and changes it for me, but I am going to make this required. So I'm going to click on required. Don't slide, that won't work. Just click on it. And what that does is require the students to turn in an answer. Because I need their last name, I'm going to choose the duplicate options. When I click that, it duplicates that question exactly, and I just type in last name, and it automatically made it required. Next thing I'm going to collect, this is because it's on moon phases, I'm going to put assigned moon phases. So, moon phase. So this is, they're going to type in here what moon phase that I had assigned to them, and then I'm going to duplicate one more time, and I'm going to type paste link here. So what I'm doing is they have it saved in their own personal folder, whether it is Office 365 or in Google, and you can get a link. And so I'm going to walk you through that, and I'm going to keep that one as a required question as well. The last thing I want to do is give my form a name so that I recognize it. And so up on the top left corner, it says Untitled Form. I'm just going to click on it, and it defaults it to whatever the title is. You can customize it if you want to, but that usually works for me. And then on a side note, top right, if you want to change the color of your palette, you can make some customized choices there, but I don't want to spend a lot of time on that. All right, so it's done. I'm ready to share with my students. What I have to do, though, I do not give them this link because they'd be able to edit it. I've made that mistake. You don't want to do that. Right here, this little, looks like an eyeball to me, but it says preview. When I click preview, it opens my form so that my students can see it, or this is how it'll look for my students. So now this is the URL that I want to copy, but it's very long. So I have a URL extension. This one shortens it automatically for me. You can install that on the Google Web Store, but I'm going to show you, in case you don't have that, how this works. I'm going to highlight and copy this long URL. Open a new tab, and I'm going to go to a URL shortener that I like to use, and I'm going to paste that link that I just did in there. If you get this, all you got to do is click I'm not a robot and choose shorten URL. And here's the shortened URL, and notice it is case sensitive. That is a capital L and a capital T. So then all I do is copy this, and I paste this into a Word file or a file that can be shared with the students through Edmodo, email, however you want to give them the link. That's how you can do that. Now, as a student, I can go in and fill this out. So I'm going to fill this out, I'm going to fill a couple of these out as a student. So now that I've filled out a couple, as a student, this is what you do as a teacher to go and find these resources. You go back to your edit mode moon phase. If you don't know where that's at, if you're in your Google Drive, I'm going to close these out so that you can see how this works. So here's my Google Drive. Here's the moon phases form that I created. I'm going to double click to open it. And then I have the option to go to responses. When I click on responses, it gives me live responses. But here's the part I like. I'm going to click on this little icon, create spreadsheet, and then I'm going to click create. It's going to create a spreadsheet that's attached to that form. So even if students turn data in later, it will still show up here. You'll notice that it gives a timestamp, so you know exactly when your students turned it in, and it gives a link. So when I click on this, I then can just click on the link right below it, and it's going to open up the link that the students gave to me. And so I'm able to see their work. Now, obviously, I just copied my link for my moon phase form. Whatever link they gave you, that's the link that's going to show up in your spreadsheet. So now as a teacher, all you have to do is go down and grade them. If you decided to put a class period, which I actually forgot, then you could also sort the data by class period as well. What I suggest though, let me go back to mine and go back to my questions. I'm going to add that in. Now I don't recommend adding it in after the fact because sometimes that can cause some problems with your spreadsheet. But let me go ahead and show you what this looks like. So I'm going to duplicate this class period, but this time I want to make sure I'm choosing a drop down because it's a database. I want to make sure that the students are all exactly the same, because if one student puts 1, another student puts first period, another student puts first, you're not able to go through and look at them the way that you want, because it's going to sort by those different names versus by the class period. And then when I go to preview, this is what it's going to look like now. So a student would be able to just click drop down and choose the right class period. And that's about it. I find Google Forms to be very helpful, as well as Office 365 forms. The only problem I had with Office 365 forms is the links. First of all, you have to download the spreadsheet. So every time you go access that spreadsheet, you're going to have to download it. The other problem I had with it is I don't like how the links are, because you got to copy and paste the links into a URL versus just clicking and opening a link. So those were the negatives that I don't like about Office 365 forms, but Google Forms does not have those problems. So hopefully you found that useful and are able to use it. If you have any questions, let me know.